Just going to go through the circuit here. So we start at the battery pack. Positive on the battery pack goes to the 5 amp breaker, using it as a switch. From the 5 amp breaker we go to the contactor, through the pre-charged resistor and across the contactor to the other side. From there we go to kind of a common point for positive on the battery pack. It's just a terminal. I've got it labeled plus. And then from there the power connection goes to B plus on the controller. And then following the rest of the circuit from negative, we go from B minus on the controller straight back to the negative on the battery. So that's the power circuit from the battery to the controller. From the controller to the motor, we start at B plus. We go to A1 on the motor, and then we come from S2 on the motor to M minus on the controller. And the only other large terminal on the controller is A2, and we don't have a connection on that, not connected. Now we're going to go through the controls. So from our positive terminal, we go to the contactor, and from the contactor we go to negative on the battery pack. So when the pre-charge resistor has charged up sufficiently to turn on the contactor, it gets turned on and the resistor is bypassed. It's a 6 ohm resistor. The other thing that happens with positive is that it goes to the top terminal, top of the small spade terminals on the controller. I think this is an enable. I'm not sure. If that signal's not there, the controller won't do anything. So that's where you would break into the circuit if you were going to disable the controller for some reason, like an emergency stop, I believe. The next terminal down on the controller is positive going to the throttle. That goes to one side of the throttle. The wiper on the throttle, or the signal, coming back goes to the bottom terminal on the controller. And then the last terminal on the throttle that doesn't appear to go anywhere actually has to go to negative on the battery pack. If it doesn't, the controller doesn't work. And that's pretty much what we've got. Here we start from the positive of the pack. We go to this little breaker. This battery is just strapped to the breaker. It's not being used. That's the breaker I'm using as a switch. That sends power to this side of the contactor. Other side of the contactor. Follow it through to B plus. Sorry. That is the red. Yeah, it goes down, sorry, this terminal. Should have brought that up here, which is the common positive terminal. Then we got an orange going up there, and this orange goes to positive on the controller. Negative of the controller is this black cable that goes to the negative of the battery pack, so that's the positive path. The negative, or the path to the motor is B plus. This green one goes to here, and this black one goes to the negative on the DC motor. It's just a little 12 volt blower for our inflator. And then the control circuit, we've got this 12 volts, or sorry, this negative going to the contactor. This positive comes from this common positive point. That one doesn't work as I described. We'll get to that shortly. We've also got this cable, which comes from a positive point and goes to the top terminal. Next terminal down is the white, which you see coming here to the accelerator, which is the positive. The next one down is the black spade connector, which comes in here on the wiper. And then the screw sticking into the connector with the little yellow jumper alligator clip goes to negative on the pack. And that was the part that I was missing when I was doing my testing before. We're going to hit, this is going to click in. We'll just check with our meter that the voltage goes up to about 20 volts and then stops for some reason that I don't know. If I take this off the contactor, it then builds up to 30-ish volts, and then I can plug it in and it's fine. Push on the accelerator, and I'll just move the voltage, the output. So you see it at 0 volts, and then it so that's about it for the demonstration.